we're going into the wild world of Russell Greer.
And this isn't just your typical internet deep dive, you know. This isn't just a few funny memes and then we move on.
Oh, no. We are going way beyond that.
This is years and years of, well, everything.
This is forums, legal battles.
It's all meticulously documented, too. It's honestly a little unnerving, the sheer volume of information.
Right. Like you start digging and it's just layer upon layer. And get this, at the center of it all is Russell, a man on a quest for, well, love, fame, and I don't even know what to call it, a very creative interpretation of the legal system.
And that's why this story, it's not just some internet oddity, you know?
Yeah.
It raises these questions about online culture, about the legal system.
Yeah, like where do we draw the line? When does something go from being funny weird to actually harmful?
Exactly. But to understand all that, we got to go back to the beginning.
Okay, so rewind. Who is Russell Greer before all this incense? Everything.
So picture this, right?
Yeah.
The guy's born with Mobius syndrome.
Mobius syndrome.
Yeah. Affects facial muscles, expressions. It can make it hard to communicate. And on top of that, he's given up for adoption, raised Mormon. I mean, talk about a challenging start.
Wow, yeah. You can't help but feel like a little bit bad for the guy hearing that.
It's crucial context, though. You have to wonder, how did that early experience shape him, especially navigating a world where, you know, so much of communication is nonverbal?
Right, like were people misinterpreting him? Was he having trouble connecting?
It's definitely something to consider.
So we've got a challenging upbringing, and then what? How do we get from there to lawsuits and everything else?
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Around 18, Greer develops this an intense, I'd say, fascination with Taylor Swift.
Ah, yes, the Taylor Swift connection. You can't talk about Russell Greer without bringing her up. What is it with this guy and pop stars?
Well, it's not just Taylor Swift, it's a theme. Like, he's fixated on this idea that if he creates something, a song, a movie script for a celebrity, that means they should give him attention, even affection.
Like he's owed that just for, like, thinking about them.
It's almost like he can't separate fantasy from reality.
Yeah.
But hold on, it gets weirder.
Weirder. Okay, lay it on me.
So remember that challenging start I mentioned? Well, even back in high school, there were signs. There are accounts, allegedly from former classmates on Kiwi Farms, about an incident involving a bathroom stall.
A bathroom stall. Okay, how does a bathroom stall figure into this?
Well, allegedly, Greer wrote this list of people he wanted to purge.
Seriously?
That's what they say. Now, we have to acknowledge these are just stories online.
Right, right. Of course. We're not saying it's definitely true.
Exactly. But even if it's just a rumor, it suggests a pattern, this disconnect between actions and consequences. And that seems to follow him.
Yeah.
Well, basically forever.
Okay, so fast forward a bit, and I'm guessing this is where the whole prostitution thing comes in.
Got it. This is where things go from just weird to really strange. And this pattern of entitlement, it just explodes.
Yeah.
Lawsuits, restraining orders. I mean, it's messy.
Okay, so let's break it down. Where do we even start?
Well, I think the best place to start is what's probably his most infamous escapade, the Olive Garden incident.
The Olive Garden incident.
Oh, yeah. You know, the one with the lady of the evening and the unlimited breadsticks?
Oh, right, right. I think I've heard of this. Okay, so refresh my memory. What exactly happened at the Olive Garden?
So from what we can piece together, it sounds like Greer hires a sex worker who went by Kira Keeper online. And, well, he takes her to Olive Garden.
Because nothing says romance like unlimited breadsticks, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, as you can imagine, things go south. Greer claims that by the time they were done with their meal, there wasn't enough time left in their arrangement.
He's blaming the Olive Garden for this.
Oh, it gets better. He actually sued Kira Keeper for fraud. Claimed she misrepresented the amount of time they'd have together.
No way. He sued her over a plate of spaghetti and meatballs. Did he win?
You're starting to get it. And no, he did not win. In fact, this is just the beginning of his legal troubles. Kira Keeper filed for a restraining order, and, well, let's just say Greer's reputation took a nosedive.
Wow. And all this is all before he becomes, like, super internet famous?
Oh, yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So what happens next?
Well, the Olive Garden incident seemed to, I don't know, unlock something in him. It's like he discovered lawsuits and thought, this is it. This is how I get what I want.
And what did he want?
Oh, you know, the usual. A date with Taylor Swift, spot on America's Got Talent, you know, the classics.
He sued America's Got Talent. Come on. What possible reason could he have for that?
Discrimination, of course. They didn't put him through the audition, so naturally, lawsuit.
Of course. It's like he thinks the legal system is his own personal tool to get whatever he wants.
And that, my friend, is how he becomes labeled a, get this, vexatious litigant.
Vexatious litigant? What even is that?
It's a legal term for someone who, and I'm simplifying here, but basically they just sue people all the time, like for no good reason, often to harass them.
So he basically sued his way into a special category reserved for, like, people who abuse the system.
Wow. It's kind of impressive when you think about it.
I mean, it's more than a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Does he actually believe any of this, or is this guy just completely delusional?
Now we're getting to the heart of it, the psychology of Russell Greer. And it's fascinating. But it's also tricky territory because, of course, we can speculate, but we're not trying to diagnose anyone here.
Totally, totally. But come on, you have to admit, the guy practically begs for armchair psychology.
He really does. And there are a few things that might be at play here. First, there's the Mobius syndrome. Remember, it can make it hard to read social cues.
Right, so maybe he's just not picking up on the hints that most people would see as, back off, buddy.
Exactly. Then there's the potential for narcissism, this feeling of entitlement. He always feels wronged, misunderstood, like he deserves fame and adoration for, well, existing.
Which, ironically, might be why he becomes so infamous online. Speaking of, we haven't even touched on Kiwi Farms yet.
Oh yeah, Kiwi Farms. You can't talk about Russell Greer without talking about Kiwi Farms. It's like the peanut butter to his jelly.
Okay, so for those of us who don't spend all our time in the dark corners of the internet, what is Kiwi Farms? Paint us a picture.
Okay, imagine like I don't know, a digital encyclopedia. But instead of facts and figures, it's dedicated to the internet's most eccentric and often controversial figures.
And Russell Greer became their, what, star subject?
Basically, all those lawsuits, the social media meltdowns, it was like a gold mine for them.
But it wasn't all just harmless fun and games, right?
Yeah, things definitely took a turn. It's important to remember that this is the internet, and that line between commentary and harassment is really thin.
And Kiwi Farms is not exactly known for being like the nicest place on the internet.
Right. And this is where things get morally complicated. On the one hand, you have this forum dedicated to, let's be honest, mocking people. Not exactly a noble pursuit. But on the other hand, you have Russell Greer, who's also engaging in harassment, filing frivolous lawsuits.
Yeah, it's classic two wrongs don't make a right situation.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole case study so fascinating.
Oh, and don't forget about the Streisand effect.
Ah, yes. The Streisand effect.
Yeah.
In all its glory. So for those who aren't familiar, basically it's when you try to hide something online, but it just backfires and makes it way more public.
And I'm guessing that's where Russell Greer comes in?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
He tries to sue Kiwi Farms into oblivion and, well, let's just say it didn't go as planned.
I bet it didn't.
Instead of shutting them down, he just gave them more ammo. It became this whole thing, this legendary example of the Streisand effect in action.
Wow. It's like he can't help himself. He just keeps feeding the fire.
It's like this weird need for attention, even if it's bad attention.
So where do we go from here? This is already so much to unpack, and we haven't even gotten to his, like, political ambitions or anything.
Oh, don't worry, we're just getting started. Remember how we were talking about, like, that need for control?
Yeah.
That desire to kind of dictate how the world sees him?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like with the lawsuits and everything.
Exactly. But it goes way beyond that. We got to talk about these brothel fantasies.
Okay, fantasies, you say. Now you've got my attention. I mean, we know he's really into the whole legal sex industry, right?
Oh, yeah, not just into, we're talking frequenting brothels, getting banned from a few. I mean, the Bunny Ranch even banned him.
No way, the Bunny Ranch. Seriously. Okay, so what kind of fantasies are we talking about here?
Well, he seems to think he's like this brothel connoisseur or something. A frustrated entrepreneur of the sex industry.
Okay.
He's got these detailed plans for his own place, calls it Mile High Neon.
Mile High Neon, is this guy for real?
Oh, I'm dead serious. He's created social media accounts, mock-up websites, the whole 9 yards. It's incredibly elaborate, like themed rooms, interesting amenities, you name it.
Wait, does he actually think he can just open a brothel?
It's hard to say what he truly believes, honestly, because on the one hand, you have these grand plans, right? But then on the other, he has zero understanding of how any of it actually works. Like, there's evidence he's approached struggling brothels with offers to buy, but the guy has no money.
So it's not about being a businessman, it's more about, what, being in control?
Exactly. It's like this fantasy world where he calls all the shots, and the legal sex industry is just like another thing he can control. Which is interesting because it's kind of similar to the lawsuits in a way.
Oh, I see what you mean. Instead of suing for attention, he's suing for like a whole industry to conform to his vision.
Right. It's wild. And it doesn't stop there. Remember those political aspirations we mentioned?
Oh, right, the political stuff. So is this where he goes full, like, Larry Flint, fighting for sex worker rights and all that?
Not quite. I mean, he talks about decriminalizing prostitution, especially in Utah, where he's from.
Makes sense.
But it always seems less about, actual social justice and more about, well, Russell Greer.
So another platform for self-promotion.
Bingo. He loves a good platform. I mean, the guy has created multiple PACs even.
PACs? Like political action committees? What are they called?
Okay, get this. A Safer Nevada is one, and then there's the Committee for Internet Change Nevada.
The Committee for Internet Change? Wait a minute. Is this about, like, silencing his critics online?
You're 2 steps ahead of me. This particular PAC, it has nothing to do with actual policy. It's all about controlling the narrative, shutting down criticism.
So basically, he's still trying to get back at Kiwi Farms, anyone who's ever made fun of him online.
Pretty much. It all comes back to control, doesn't it? He just can't let go of this idea that he can control what people say about him online.
Yeah, and that's never going to happen. Especially not now.
It's the Streisand effect all over again. It never works. And you know what else is interesting? He just can't let anything go.
Like, what do you mean?
Like if a celebrity snubs him, bad book review, someone on Instagram doesn't respond, he fixates. He just can't move on.
It's like he needs to be the victim, the misunderstood genius, always battling against the world.
And the internet, well, it just fuels that fire, doesn't it?
Totally. It's like a 24/7 echo chamber of outrage and validation, even when it's negative attention.
It's a little sad, honestly. You can tell he just wants to be accepted, recognized. But he keeps going about it in all the wrong ways.
Pushing everyone further and further away.
Exactly. And this is where it stops being just funny and becomes a cautionary tale, This is the dark side of the internet.
Oh, for sure. It's not all sunshine and rainbows out there.
But hey, enough about the dark side of the internet for now. Remember those interesting dietary habits we mentioned earlier?
Oh, right. You can't just drop a bomb like that and not elaborate. What's the deal with Russell Greer and food?
Okay, so of all the bizarre things we've talked about, his relationship with food might be the most baffling.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Lay it on me.
Muffins.
Muffins?
Muffins. He's obsessed with muffins.
It's more than an obsession. Based on, his social media, people who've met him, muffins are, a core part of his diet.
Okay, so he's, replacing meals with muffins? That's putting it mildly. We're talking photographic evidence of muffins and chocolate milk for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Is this guy for real? That's gotta be, incredibly unhealthy.
Right. It's either extreme pickiness or some kind of weird experiment gone wrong.
It's just so random. It's like out of everything we've learned about Russell Greer, the muffin thing is the most confusing.
And that's Russell Greer in a nutshell, isn't it? This walking contradiction. He's bizarre, he's frustrating, but you also kind of feel bad for the guy.
I know, right? It's like you want to laugh, but you also kind of want to help him.
Exactly. But speaking of contradictions,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about him reinventing himself online, right? This ever-evolving persona thing.
Oh, yeah. It's like he's constantly trying on different masks, trying to find one that fits.
Right. And it's not just the brothel guy or the political activist. We're talking successful entrepreneur, ladies' man, legal mastermind.
Wait, hold on. Legal mastermind. This guy.
Oh, yeah, he's been there. And you know what else? Fashion icon.
He thinks he's a fashion icon.
Let's just say his social media has some interesting outfit choices.
I bet it does.
Oh, it's out there, trust me.
I don't doubt it for a second. But why? Why these constant transformations? Is he trying to outrun his online reputation, or is it something more?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is it even possible he doesn't know who he is anymore?
Yeah.
Like he spent so much time crafting this online persona that he's lost himself in the process.
Whoa, that's kind of deep, man.
It is. And it makes you wonder, what is identity in the digital age? When you can be whoever you want online, how do you hold on to who you really are?
It's almost like the internet is this hall of mirrors, and it's easy to get lost in the reflections.
And some people never find their way out.
It's kind of scary, right? Like, you can get so caught up in being someone you're not online that you forget who you even are in real life.
It's like that whole be careful what you wish for thing, because you might just get it.
And not everyone can handle getting what they wish for, I guess.
Especially when what they wish for is internet fame.
Oh, totally. But it's more than that with this guy. It's easy to laugh at the lawsuits and the brothel fantasies and
And
everything.
the muffins. Don't forget the muffins.
Right, the muffins. But the thing is, it's not a joke for the people who were actually affected by his actions.
Exactly. This isn't just some harmless internet personality, you know. This is a guy who's harassed people, wasted court time and resources.
Caused real harm.
Yes. And it's a good reminder that even though we're talking about, like, internet culture and memes and stuff,
Yeah.
there are real-world consequences to all of this.
100%. So the question is, how do we deal with someone like that? How do we balance, like, free speech with protecting people from being harassed?
Right. And how do we address those deeper issues that might be driving this behavior? It's tricky.
So tricky. And honestly, I don't know if there are any easy answers.
Me neither. Full can of worms, that's for sure.
So where do we go from here? What happens next with Russell Greer? You think he'll ever, like, disappear? Or is he just going to be out there forever doing his thing?
It's impossible to say for sure, but if his past is anything to go by, I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of him.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He always seems to find a way to pop back up, doesn't he?
Always. Whether it's more lawsuits, another weird business venture.
Maybe he'll finally open that brothel.
Don't give him any ideas. But honestly, whatever he does next, you know it's going to be entertaining.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a slow motion train wreck. You don't want to look, but you can't help yourself.
It's compelling in a really messed up way.
Totally. And that might be the legacy of Russell Greer, you know?
What do you mean?
Like this cautionary tale about what can happen when the internet collides with like mental health issues and a really loose grasp on reality.
It's definitely a story for our times.
It is. But on that note, I think we need to wrap things up before we go too far down the rabbit hole ourselves.
Well, a good idea.
This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and whatever you do, stay off Kiwi Farms.